Muzan Kibutsuji. The name strikes fear into the hearts of demon slayers and demons alike. As the progenitor of all demons in Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Muzan is not only the central villain of the series, but also the most tragic, complex, and terrifying being in its entire mythos. But how did he become the monster who would plunge the world into chaos for over 1,000 years? To understand Muzan's rise, we must go back to his earliest days, before the bloodshed, before the darkness, and before the curse that would define his life. Long before he became a demon, Muzan Kibutsuji was born during Japan's Heian era. Over 1,000 years before the events of Demon Slayer, he was a frail and sickly child, born with a rare and terminal illness that threatened to end his life before he reached his 20s. His heart would frequently stop, and it was said that he was declared dead multiple times, only to miraculously revive moments later. His body was weak, and his life constantly hung by a thread. Faced with certain death, Muzan and his family sought every possible cure, turning to healers and doctors across the land. Eventually, one physician offered a radical solution, an experimental treatment using a mysterious blue spider lily. This plant was rare, nearly mythical, but the doctor believed it had the power to prolong life, or even cure terminal illnesses. Muzan was desperate. He underwent the treatment, and for a brief moment it seemed to work. But Muzan was impatient. He killed the doctor before the treatment was complete, believing he had been tricked. He wanted instant results and failed to realize that the process required time and multiple doses. By murdering the doctor, Muzan sealed his fate. He became the world's first demon, a being of incredible strength, immortality, and regenerative ability. But the transformation came with a cost. He could no longer walk in sunlight. This flaw would consume Muzan for centuries. In becoming a demon, Muzan had traded one form of death for another kind of prison. The sun became his greatest enemy, and despite his near limitless power, he could not walk freely in the daylight without burning to ash. Thus began his obsession with perfection. Muzan wanted to conquer the sun. He wanted to become the perfect being, immortal, invincible, and unbound by weakness. That obsession shaped the rest of his life and actions. With his new powers, Muzan began creating more demons using his blood. His goal was simple: find or create a demon that could withstand sunlight. Each demon he created was an experiment. Some failed, while others grew powerful, but none could overcome the sun. Still, Muzan persisted, founding the 12 Kizuki, a group of the strongest demons who served under him. They would aid his search, destroy demon slayers, and spread his influence throughout Japan. Among his creations, Muzan found disappointment after disappointment. Demons such as Akaza, Doma, and Kokushibo were powerful, loyal, and deadly, but they still burned under the sun. Muzan's need to find a perfect demon consumed him. He began to manipulate humans, erase his tracks, and hide his identity behind countless disguises. Over time, he became more than a monster. He became a myth, a whisper in the shadows, a demon so powerful and elusive that even those who served him knew little of his true face. Muzan's cruelty extended far beyond the battlefield. He ruled his demons with an iron grip, implanting a part of his own flesh in each of them so he could kill them instantly if they defied him or spoke his name. He was paranoid, ruthless, and emotionally detached. Even the demons who idolized him feared him. He saw his underlings as tools, not individuals. Even failure wasn't tolerated. It was punished by death. Muzan's power and fear created a cult-like obedience among the 12 Kizuki, but no love. Over the centuries, Muzan's legend grew. He destroyed families, manipulated nobles, and quietly spread demonic influence through Japan's population. His experiments grew more brutal. He needed children with special blood, humans with unique compositions, anything that might help him break his sunlight curse. One of his targets became the Kamado family, an ordinary family living in the mountains, unknown to the world. That is, until Tanjiro Kamado came home one day to find his entire family slaughtered, save for his sister Nezuko, who had been turned into a demon. It wasn't just murder, it was another experiment. Unbeknownst to Tanjiro, Nezuko would become the breakthrough Muzan had been waiting for. She was the first demon to survive sunlight. Somehow, Nezuko's transformation had resulted in the impossible, a demon who could walk in the daylight. When Muzan discovered this, he was both enraged and ecstatic. He hadn't created Nezuko with intention, but now that she existed, he had to capture her. She was the key to completing his transformation. If he could absorb her or learn her secret, he would finally become the perfect being he had dreamed of for over 1,000 years. But standing in his way was the Demon Slayer core and, more importantly, Tanjiro, who was no ordinary swordsman. Tanjiro inherited the legacy of the sun-breathing style, the original and most powerful breathing technique, one that Muzan feared above all others. It had been used against him in the past, most notably by Yoriichi Tsugikuni, the greatest demon slayer to ever live. Yoriichi had nearly killed Muzan centuries earlier with sun breathing, and Muzan never forgot the terror of that encounter. He became obsessed with eradicating all traces of sun breathing from the world, hunting down its users, and wiping it from history. But fate had a different plan. Tanjiro, with his gentle heart and unwavering resolve, became the very threat Muzan had tried to avoid. As Tanjiro grew stronger and formed bonds with fellow slayers like Zenitsu, Inosuke, and the Hashira, Muzan's time began to run out. The Demon Slayer Corps had new leadership, new weapons, and the will to bring his reign to an end. In the final arc of the story, the battle against Muzan reaches its peak. After infiltrating the Ubuyashiki estate, Muzan attempts to destroy the leadership of the Demon Slayers in one move. But the Ubuyashiki family had anticipated this, and with a sacrificial explosion, they buy the Corps enough time to launch an all-out assault against Muzan. Cornered and enraged, Muzan transforms into a grotesque and powerful new form, a pulsating, shifting mass of flesh that embodies all his hatred and fear. His regeneration is near limitless, his strength unstoppable, and his body becomes harder to destroy with each passing moment. But the Demon Slayers do not back down. They fight for hours, pushing their bodies beyond the limits. Tanjiro, using the Dance of the Fire God, a form based on sun breathing, brings Muzan closer and closer to defeat. And then dawn approaches. With the sun rising, Muzan panics. He tries to escape, burrowing underground like a cornered animal, but it's too late. With the help of Nezuko, who regains her humanity just in time, the Demon Slayers manage to hold Muzan in place. As the sunlight engulfs him, he burns, he writhes, he screams, but even in death, he refuses to let go. In a final desperate act, Muzan injects his remaining cells into Tanjiro, trying to live on through him. He wants Tanjiro to become the new king of demons, the perfect successor, but Tanjiro resists. His human heart, the love of his friends, and the spirit of his family guide him back. With one final rejection, Muzan's will is extinguished. The Demon King is gone. Muzan Kibutsuji's story is one of fear, obsession, and control. He was once a human afraid of death, a boy who wanted to live, but in his desperation, he became the very embodiment of death itself, a being so consumed by the fear of mortality that he destroyed thousands of lives in the process. In the end, Muzan wasn't killed by swords or techniques alone. He was defeated by the one thing he could never understand, the strength of the human spirit. Where Muzan saw weakness in mortality, the Demon Slayers found courage, compassion, and purpose. And that was something Muzan could never replicate, no matter how many demons he created or how many lives he took. Muzan Kibutsuji's backstory is a dark mirror of what it means to fear death so much that you become a monster to escape it, and in doing so, lose everything that once made you human.